beautiful beaders, it's Gina from orchidandopal.com, and today I'm back to show you how I made the Yellow Brick Road bracelet. So we're going to be making this in a red and gold colorway today. By the way, everything that you need to make this particular colorway and the red and lots of other different color combinations you can find at eurekacrystalbeads.com. All of the beads in this example bracelet did come from the Harvest Sunset collection on their site, so I will link to that down below, as well as all the materials I'll be using today. You should be able to find all the sizes you need in that collection to make this bracelet. Colors may vary just a little bit, or you can purchase the items you need individually. I do have a coupon code to share with you. It's ORCHID15 if you'd like to save 15% off your purchase. Some exclusions do apply, and I will leave those down below also. So before we get started, let's talk a little bit about the materials you're going to need to make this bracelet. You will need 4 of these 10mm Swarovski Rivolis. You'll need 14 Silky Beads. These are 2-hole beads. You'll need 12 4mm Swarovski Bicones. Some 11.0 Aiko beads by Toho, but you could also use Miyuki Delicas, or you could substitute those with seed beads. You'll also need some 8.0 seed beads and some size 15.0 seed beads. Besides all of those items, of course, you'll need the clasp of your choice. You'll need 2 wire guards, 2 jump rings, about 10 to 12 feet of 0.006 inch Fireline or your choice of beading thread. We'll be using 2 beading needles today, a pair of scissors, and some jewelry pliers. We will also be using 2 needles today to complete this bracelet, and I would consider this an intermediate bead weaving design, so if you are new to bead weaving, you may want to start with a simpler project. And if you're not used to working with 2 needles, just be a little bit extra patient with yourself. It is something to get used to, but it's a really important technique to know as you progress in your bead weaving. Alright, we're going to be working this bracelet from left to right. We're going to start on this side. So we need to pick up one of our wire guards. So take one of your needles and just go through the wire guard through both sides. Just like that. Then take your other needle in your hand and feed the wire guard down your thread till it gets to the point where your wire guard is kind of in the middle point of your thread and you're holding your 2 needles in your other hand, and when you stretch out your hands, your needles are matching up. Alright, so I have my left needle and my right needle here, and I have my thread coming out of both sides of the wire guard. The first thing we want to do is pick up 3 of your 8.0 seed beads on your right needle and feed those down to your wire guard. Now with your left needle, pick up 3 more 8.0s. And this time pick up one of your silky beads. Now you can see the silky beads I'm using and the ones I used in the yellow bracelet are actually 2-sided. So you're going to need to decide, if you have similar silky beads, which side you want facing up, and make sure you're staying consistent throughout the bracelet. And just make sure the holes are running horizontally or from left to right. And pull that down to your work. And you'll take your right hand needle and go through the bottom hole of that silky bead. So pass through that. And pull your work nice and tight. And now you're ready to add on 5 of your Aiko beads. So we have those on our needle, and you can pull those down to your work. And pass through the top hole of the silky bead. Now do the exact same thing on the left hand side to keep this symmetrical. Pick up 5 of your Aikos, pull them down, and go through the top hole of your silky bead and pull just like that. Now with your right hand needle, pick up an Aiko, an 8.0, and another Aiko bead, and then pull those down to your work. And with your left needle, you're going to mirror that, pick up an Aiko, an 8.0, an Aiko, but this time pick up an extra 8.0. So you should have that sequence and pull that down. And then you want your right needle to pass through this 8-0 that's on the end that your left needle had already gone through. So swing your right needle over and go down through that 8-0, and the needle that was on the right is now going to become your left hand needle. So you basically just join the two threads here in the 8-0, and I'm going to move my former left needle over to the right. So now we're on the correct side. So this is what you should have so far. And now we're ready to start making the base for our first Rivoli. With your right needle, you'll pick up an 8-0, an Aiko, 3 8-0s, an Aiko, and one more 8-0. So pick up the sequence that you see here and bring that down on your right side. Now with your left hand needle, you want to mirror that. So pick up an 8-0, an Aiko, 3 8-0s, an Aiko, but this time instead of one, you're going to do 2 8-0s. So that's the sequence you'll want on your left side, and bring that down to your work. And now, just like we did before, you want to join the two. So take your right hand needle and go down through the 8-0 that is on the end. Your right hand needle will now become your left hand needle. So take your time. Move your left hand needle over to the right side. Just give yourself a minute to get situated and everything back into position. And that's what you should have so far. That's the base for your Rivoli. We're now going to be starting to make the part that wraps around the top of our Rivoli. We want to take our right hand needle first and go back down through the 8-0, coming out the first Aiko bead that you get to right there. And pull your thread. And we're going to be positioning some beads in between each of these Aikos. We're going to pick up 3 15-0s, 1 Aiko, and then 3 more 15-0s, and then pull this sequence down to your work. And now go through that next Aiko bead that you get to. So you'll have something that looks like that. And we're going to continue doing this all the way around this base loop. So repeat the process. Pick up 3 15-0s, an Aiko, and 3 15-0s. Skip over these 3 8-0s and go through this Aiko that you get to next. So that's what you have so far. You have your 2 little loops that you just added. We're going to go ahead and do another one. Pick up 3 15-0s, an Aiko, and 3 15-0s. Skip over the 3 8-0s and go through that next Aiko. And we're going to do this one more time. Finally skipping over the 3 8-0s on the end. And go through that next Aiko where we kind of started out. You can pull both threads at this point. And this will tighten up as you go, but these little loops that you just added are going to be going across the top of the Rivoli with the larger 8-0s on the bottom, forming a base ring. Since we used our right hand thread to make the top loops, go ahead and pick up your left hand thread, and we're going to continue working around our Rivoli with that one, just to even things up a little bit. So with that thread, we're coming out of this 8-0 still. Make your way through the 8-0 on the left, plus through the next Aiko, and just go ahead and pull that. And now go ahead and go up the 3 15-0s, as well as the Aiko that is at the top of that loop, and pull. Now pick up 5 15-0s, And you're going to be adding 5 15-0s between each of these Aikos on the loops you just added. So find your next loop that you had added and go directly through that next Aiko bead and pull that together. This is going to cinch those loops up and kind of make yourself a little cup for your Rivoli to sit in. Pick up 5 more 15-0s and go through the next Aiko that's at the top of the next loop. And you can kind of see how this is coming together, starting to form that cup shape. Just be patient with yourself on this point. It's a lot of things to hold on to, so just take your time. Okay, we're going to keep going even before we put in our Rivoli. So another 5 15-0s and go through the Aiko on the next loop. And then one more time, 5 more 15-0s. And through the next Aiko at the loop where we started. Pull that and just take a minute to get all your 15-0s and Aikos on the top of this piece where they belong, forming that little ring, and all the 8-0s in the ring on the bottom. Now that we have our top ring here, we want to reinforce the base before we pop in our Rivoli. And it'll pop right in since we haven't reinforced the top yet. So I'm just going to flip over my work, and I'm going to grab my other needle, the one that was coming out of this Aiko more toward the base. And what I want to do is I want to follow the thread path through the 8-0s at the bottom and reinforce that ring of 8-0s before we do anything else. And pull your work. And now we're going to be skipping over all the Aikos on the back. So go directly down through the 3 8-0s that are on the left side. So think of this more as like a square now on the base. Skipping over that red Aiko. And I'm just turning my work a little bit. And again, skip over this next Aiko that's on the corner. And go through the 3 8-0s that would be at that bottom of the square. And then go through the 3 8-0s on this side. Just like that. And I want you to do that one more time just to make sure this piece is extra reinforced at that point. And keeps the base of our Rivoli in place. So just going through these one more time. And there we go. Pull that nice and tight, and that feels much stronger. Now I'm just flipping my work back over. I'm going to set this thread down, and I'm going to pick up one of my Rivolis and gently set it into place. I'm going to use a needle to help me get some of these 15-0s over the top. There we go. And I actually found it's much easier to set this down when you're trying to put your Rivoli in than trying to hold up your work. Then you just want to get it in place to where it looks like it's centered. And it's going to start to form this little diamond shape over the top. So just like we did before, we want to reinforce this top ring. So I'm going to pick up with the needle that is already coming out of this top Aiko. So not the one we used to reinforce the base, it's still coming out of the base. So I'm coming out of this Aiko, I'm going to shoot through these 5 15-0s. And again, you're going to have to hold your Rivoli with your finger till this is nice and tight. And turn your work a little bit. Coming out of that Aiko, I'm going to shoot through the next 5 seed beads. Take your time, make sure you're not getting anything else caught up in your work. Then I'm going to go through the next Aiko. And the next 5 seed beads. And the next Aiko. I'm going to set it down so I can really get this centered and pulled nice and tight. And I think it's looking really good. I'm going to go through this whole ring one more time actually, because I want it to be reinforced very well here, just like the bottom was. Don't want any way for the Rivoli to pop out, so really spend the extra time tightening this up. And going around this side. Alright, so after your top is tightened, just keep using the same thread you were using there at the top to cinch it up. And go down through those 3 seed beads on the side. We want to come out on this side through our center 8-0 here. That is at the bottom. Just keep pulling that nice and tight. So I'm coming out of this 15-0, I'm just going to swing around and go down through those 2 8-0s on the side. And this is going to become my right hand needle. Now let's see where our left hand needle is coming out of. So I just set this down for just a moment to get myself situated, and I see I'm coming out of this 8-0 that's on this side here. So I'm just going to follow my thread path and go through this Aiko that I get to next. And then up through those 3 seed beads on the side. Then I'm going to go through these 5 15-0s at the top. Just keep pulling everything tight. I'm going to go down through these 3 15-0s on this side, pull my thread, and then go through these 2 8-0s on this side, heading in the opposite direction of my other thread on that side. Alright, so I have my work situated here, back facing up, and I have my left and my right needle, and now we're ready to complete the next portion, which is going to include our silky beads. So the first thing we want to do is we want to pick up another Aiko, an 8-0, and an Aiko. So pull that down to your work. Then taking your other needle, pick up an Aiko, an 8-0, and an Aiko, and this time go through one of your silky beads. Now you want to make sure, because it can be a little confusing, that you have your silky beads so the holes are going across from left to right. You also want to make sure that if you have 2-sided silky beads, you have the same side facing up each time you put one on. So we're looking at the back now. I'm going to be using this side as the back, just like I did here. And then we're going to be joining both sides of our thread inside that first hole of the silky bead. So what was my left hand thread is now moving over here, and my right hand thread I'm grabbing and I'm going through the silky bead and moving it over to the left side. Now if you want, you can go ahead and pick up 2 more silky beads to just kind of get them into position where you're going to be using them. They'll be sitting kind of just like that. And now what you want to do, taking your right hand needle, go through this little Aiko that's on this side of the silky bead and pull your thread. Now pick up an Aiko, an 8-0, a bicone, an 8-0, and another Aiko. And you can pull those down to your work. And you're going to repeat the same thing on the left side. So first, go through that Aiko. And now pick up another Aiko, an 8-0, a bicone, an 8-0, and another Aiko. So pull that down to your work, and we're ready to add on our next 2 silky beads. You can still use your left hand thread, making sure again that all your holes are going from left to right, and you have the correct side facing up. I just added on another silky, went through the top hole of this silky that was already in place, and now I'm going through the bottom hole of this one. It's also going to pull all those beads we just added into that corner. And again, our thread is swapping sides. I'm going to pick up my right hand thread and do the same thing, just joining these through the silky beads, going through all 3 of them, just like that. Just take your time to hold these down so they stay in place, and pull. And here's a look at what you should have so far. Now with your right hand needle, pick up 5 more Aikos and pull those down to your work. Do the same thing with your left hand side, so pick up 5 Aikos and get another one of your silky beads ready that's going to sit right there and complete your diamond. Now with your left hand thread, go through the top hole of this silky, the bottom hole of this one here, and the top hole of your third silky, and pass through all 3 of those. Just like that, so your thread is switching sides again. And just like you did before, you're going to mirror what you just did and go through all 3 of these silky beads from the opposite direction with your other thread. Now mirroring the other side of your link here, pick up another Aiko, an 8-0, a bicone, an 8-0, and an Aiko. Pull these down to your work on the right hand side. And do the same thing with your left. Pick up an Aiko, an 8-0, a bicone, an 8-0, and another Aiko, and pull those down. And pass through the top hole of this last silky bead. Again, your threads are going to be switching places. I'm going to take my current right hand thread, pass this through the other side, just like that. And then take a moment just to get yourself situated again. Alright, we have both our threads situated again. We are coming out of the top of the silky bead, and we're actually going to want to go through the Aiko. So take your right hand thread and pass through the Aiko that's on the right, and pick up an Aiko, an 8-0, and an Aiko, and pull that down to your work. And then on your other side, do the same thing. First pass up this Aiko on the left, where you're coming out, and then mirror what you have over here. So you added an Aiko, 8-0, and an Aiko. This time we're going to add one more 8-0. So pull this sequence down to your work. And then we want to pick up our right hand thread, and we're going to be crossing through this 8-0. It's going to become our 8-0 that is sitting on this end or the top. So go down through that 8-0, and again our threads are going to swap places. And now you're ready to start your next link of the bracelet, which is going to be your Rivoli. So if you want a 7-inch bracelet like the one that you see here in yellow, what you're going to want to do is complete your bracelet using the same steps until you have 3 of these silky bead sections and 4 of your Rivoli sections. We're going to be ending on a Rivoli section, and we'll meet back here and complete the bracelet. In the meantime, you can just back up the video and start at this point where you are creating a new Rivoli section and continue on in the same way until you've gotten your desired length. Alright, so welcome back. Hopefully you made it this far. You can see that I have completed the links of my bracelet there, and hopefully you're with me at the same point so we can finish up our bracelet. So we have our thread situated as usual. I'm coming out of this 8-0 on the end. I'm going to take the thread that's in my right hand. I'm going to pick up an Aiko, an 8-0, one more Aiko, and pull those beads down to my work. Then do the same thing on the other side, picking up an Aiko, an 8-0, an Aiko, and this time I'm going to pick up our other silky bead, making sure that it's facing the correct way and that our hole is going left to right or right to left. And it's going to sit just like that. And then of course we're going to take the thread on our right and go through that bottom hole of the silky bead also. And our threads are going to switch places. There we go. Now with the thread that's now on my right, I'm going to pick up 5 Aiko beads. and swing through the top hole of our Silky. Again, thread switching places, do the same thing on the left. 5 Aikos, and pass through the top hole of the Silky. And then pull your work, make sure it's nice and tight, and then on the right hand side you can pick up 3 of your 8/0s and bring those down to your work. Do the same thing with the left side, pick up 3 8/0s and also pick up your wire guard. And you can loop around the wire guard also, going in the other direction there, and pull that down to your work. Move this thread out of the way, and now take our other thread that's on our right and go up through that loop of the wire guard on the right and head down in this direction. And pull this nice and tight, also making sure your thread is situated in the groove of the wire guard. You don't want it falling off to the side. And I'm holding the left hand thread tightly in my left hand. I have the right hand thread with my needle ready to go, and I'm going to continue down the 3 8/0s on the right and make a little half hitch knot right at this point, just to start tying off our thread. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to take my left hand thread, and right at the base of these 3 8/0s I'm going to make a half hitch knot. There we go. So that's getting the process started for tying off our piece. And now what you'll do is just follow your thread path through the beads. You can go through as many beads as you want. I also recommend, if you have enough thread, you can tighten all these silkies up around here. That's totally optional. You can see some of mine are just a touch loose, but not a big deal. So knot off both sides of your thread, making sure you make at least 3 knots within your piece on each side, so that your thread is very secure. And then when you're comfortable, you can go ahead and clip your thread, and we'll start to attach the jump rings and the clasp. Alright, so once you have both of your threads sewn back in and tied off, you can add a jump ring to the end of your wire guard there, and then add your clasp. And I'm going to go ahead and do this other side with you. I haven't done this one yet. So we'll just open up our jump ring. If you need 2 pair of pliers, you can use 2 or just your finger depending on how thick your jump ring is. I'm going to swing this around and pop on the other side of my clasp. And I am going to use another pair of pliers for this just to close this off. The clasp I'm using today is a magnetic clasp, and this is also from Eureka Crystal Beads. These are really strong. So here is a final look at the bracelet. I hope yours came out great too. You'll have to let me know down below how yours turned out and what color combination you used. Like I said, I will be leaving a full materials list down below the video with links to everything I used today, as well as the Harvest Sunset collection on EurekaCrystalBeads.com, which is where I originally got all the materials to make this yellow version minus the clasp and the other basic essentials you need to make your piece. Don't forget you can use the coupon code ORCHID15 if you want to save 15% off your purchase with a few exclusions, and I will leave that information below as well. So thank you so much for being with me for another fun tutorial. I hope your bracelet turned out beautiful too, and if nothing else, maybe gave you an additional way to use the beads that you received in that Harvest Sunset collection. Until next time, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and as always, happy beading. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. For more content like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of my latest videos. You can check out the information section below this video for links to all my social media handles, recommended products, and my shop and blog at orchidandopal.com. Thanks for watching.